Here it begins again. A female individual carrying books claimed they were heavy, blaming it all on her teacher. She began to fall until Sumbi, a parkour ninja player, elevated himself, making the lady forget her situation until he caught her successfully before anything fell onto the ground. The girl was on her knees thanking him, and he agreed it was incredible of him, and they were both second years. His name was Mitomo Tasuku, a transfer student. She hoped they would become friends and asked if he would carry books for her, but his attitude shifted, saying he refused. He doesn't want to make a habit of helping other people because he was aiming to be at the top. The girl was stunned in place while he left her alone. He wasn't a helper anymore, but a glimpse in his past shows 3 girls and himself formed a detective group. Adults would praise them for learning what inquiries other people had for them. They each had strong attributes, one being fast, another smart, and one had great resilience. He wasn't included in the praise, but was proud of being the assistant. It was his honor to help those 3 girls as they received rewards from the city. He would be in the front row admiring their gift they got. Whenever he had the chance, he would spend time helping other people. This kindness would make other people place their chores onto him. Somebody gave him a wake-up call, calling him out, then letting him know he was being used. This motivated him to become somebody better, but lose the aspect of helping people. He enjoyed his leisure walks throughout the hallways, but a bowling ball hit him like a pin. This made him land face first, and the girl would apologize. He couldn't guess what happened to him and looked behind him. 3 gorgeous beauties had their attention all on him. He was surprised they knew his name, but he didn't know theirs. After all, he just transferred here, but his eyes were focused on specific parts of these women's bodies for some reason. He was dizzy knowing such beauties recognized him. One was interested in how he wrote his name, suspicious, and handed him a folded piece of paper. He asked why it was folded and was told not to worry about it. He sighed on this daunting task, asking if it was good enough. Something was up with them as to how they conversed when he gave the paper back. He felt like he saw them before, and 2 dudes who talked loudly caught his attention. One girl named Akechi was labeled as cute and fast. Another named Iazumi is famous for diligence. Lastly, Aru's daughter of a CEO and labeled as refined. He was thinking hard about the names he just heard until he came up with a conclusion. One girl leaned close to him, saying, "Cat's out of the bag, huh?" The other 2 girls held his arm, saying it was time to go, but he didn't know where. Fast-forwarding to an unnamed room, he was told those girls in front of him were the same as from the detective group. One of the girls immediately recognized it was him. She was named Akechi Hayori and told our boy to work on his observation skills. He disliked how she put him in a chokehold, and just because she did that before. She asked why, saying that's how they rolled, brother. He didn't recall them being siblings. Meanwhile, somebody giggled. Aru's Tuka was amused, and he said everybody changed, making her ask what about her has changed. She mentioned how Mitomo liked being teased. However, he didn't have any happy memories of him being teased. Somebody interrupted, saying it was nice to reunite with him while slamming the table. Yazumi Ritsu asked why he decided to move without telling the group. She was mad they weren't able to host a goodbye party, or at least say their goodbyes. Before she could continue to bicker, Mitomo asked her to back up while he was blushing. Steam erupted from her ears and her eyes swirled. She apologized, and he realized nothing much changed about her, and he changed the subject, asking if they were in a club. Akechi was happy he was interested, but he didn't like her oversell, so they all proudly say they were in the detective club. He was surprised over the club and asked if something fishy was going on, but they just helped people with mysteries they brought forth. This club was a continuation of their childhood detective agency. He wanted to keep up the good work, not wanting to be involved anymore. Unfortunately, for him, he was told he was a member, which made him spill his drink. Arus delightfully said he did hand in his application and was given a piece of paper from her. He saw that his name was on the paper and yelled they were scammers, but the girls wouldn't let him take it back. Ritsu knew this was going to happen and tried to stop them, but another said she was actually on board. That day, he was announced as the 4th member of the detective agency, being the assistant for them. He was immediately dragged along for their first action of business. To start, their client thinks she is being cheated on. More on the case, the client is assuming her boyfriend is cheating because he was giving her the cold shoulder, and NTR happened. Ritsu and Hayori didn't know what NTR was, and our boy didn't want them to learn and shut down Tuka from talking. The detective team spotted the target moving away from school premises, thus they chased. Akechi decided to follow him in a fast manner, but Tasuku didn't want her to go alone. It was time for the rest of the group to follow, but a clumsy individual decided to hit the bike with her skirt. She was dizzy, apologizing to bikes, but something was falling from the sky. She was a cursed person somehow landing in a bush. She was sorry and struggled to get out of the bush, asking for help while having tears within her eyes. The angle he saw was enough for him to be embarrassed and look away, and Arus said she does things with her brain instead of working. She was engulfed in sweat asking for a piggyback ride, but was declined quickly. She tried to entice him, but a crowd began to form behind him. Next, a girl pounced onto him, and this was Akechi, who made a full 180 turn, yelling, "I got you now." She landed on Tasuku, realizing she made a mistake, while the others were visibly upset for putting up a poor performance. 3 hours later, all was lost and all was exhausted. He had a strange feeling because in his memories they were the perfect trio, but now they were all clueless donkeys. 2 people were talking about how the detective club had beauties, but their club didn't provide any results for tasks, thus they were called the Trio of Unfortunate Beauties. Mitomo turned around, glaring at the 3 girls at the words of the Trio of Unfortunate Beauties. "Explosion!" he yelled. The 3 girls sat on the bench, saying that what he said was correct. Expulsion was coming because they overlooked proper procedures to form the club, and they tried their best to be detectives but only brought failed results until no requests came in, leading to their title of the Unfortunate Beauties. It got to the point where if they were to do anything stupid, they would be expelled, and he asked if they were serious. He bluntly put it they were screwed, but one yelled at how he was a meanie. He didn't know why they were going against fate and to kill the club, but they refused because this was the one thing they wanted. They weren't able to do much without an assistant, and he had no desire to continue being an assistant. Luckily, their down face made him feel guilty, so he took action. He wanted to guess who the girl was and to chase her, and the girls didn't know how to find her. He found the target's Twitter and wanted to look for people who engage with said account, and narrow it down slowly by looking at similar tweets. He easily did it, but the part is he was unable to fully know whose account it was causing somebody to giggle. It was time for Arus to shine with her plan of calling her family's intelligence division. He was on edge, realizing rich people were scary, and the information came through. Yazumi had a reaction, and all she knew was the time she left and her route she took home, which was more than enough. He asked how she knew that, but she just said she took time learning about every student there. Somebody interrupted, saying it was time to go before it was too late. Eventually, they walked through the city, finding the culprit. A boy was hugging a girl's shoulder. They were about to get a picture as proof, but their happy faces would soon disappear with the boy behind them. The culprit asked who they were and if they took a picture, but the girls asked if he was okay. He said he was fine with blood trickling down his nose, but he was just aura farming. He stood back up but fell down once the guy started running away. He didn't know why he shielded them and acted like an assistant. He claimed he wouldn't be happy being an assistant, but when somebody asked why he did it, "My body moved on its own," he said. It was bad the guy ran away, but they got proof at least, but they were not ready to stop, as Mitomo was hurt. Akechi jumped the fence and began sprinting, then jumping another fence, making Mitomo shocked. They were to follow, but Arus had a car available for them to travel with. He stayed in the car. They had proof, however. They weren't listening to him. There weren't many people that could outrun her as she was about to catch him. He was going to head somewhere crowded, so she told the driver to go to the main road. He wanted the girls to stop, but it was time for Yazumi to show what she can do. The goofball was running until he was tired, thinking he lost them, but somebody had other words. The detective group was in front of him and managed to predict his boring strategies. Not only that, but perseverance of her looking at every person until finding the right person. He couldn't believe he was caught, but somebody from the sky fell down. It seemed like he got hit, but fell down on his butt while learning he was found by the detective club. They declared that laying hands on their assistant was something they wouldn't take lightly. Him watching them do their thing made him realize their shine still existed. He was wondering why they were caught up on that. But the police asked what happened, because it looked like they were fighting, so they had to go down to the station. Back at the staff room, they were told to not land in police custody, and if something like this were to occur again, they would be expelled. They solved their case but still ended up in trouble. The guy was cheating, but the girl who put in the request was also cheating, which was awkward. While Tasuku was walking behind them, his attention was brought to an apology. They wanted him to join the club and be their assistant, but didn't like how they tricked him, thus acting like the form wouldn't exist, but he stopped them from speaking. He complimented their change for the better, even though today there were mass blunders saying he's the key for the club to work. He hereby announced he will be joining the detective club. They were delighted and shocked he was joining their club, but he wasn't joining as an assistant, but as a rival becoming a full detective. Hiyori asked, "Really?" But he didn't like her tone. They were reunited, standing on equal footing of them, but he didn't know their ulterior motives they had for him in the club. They were all aiming for one boy to be their personal assistant. The relationship between a detective and their assistant is romance. A romance we will never get. The next chapter we bring ourselves upon to our main character attempting tricks with a soccer ball. People were amazed at what he was doing, but he was degraded being called almost as athletic as Akechi. He was asked if he was smart, but Aruse was smarter and Yazumi had more charm than him. He believed even if he's clumsy, a genius was still a genius. His aura shone through as he'll reach the top and surpass everybody. People shouted at him saying he lost the ball and he is indeed weird. Skipping forward to the clubroom, the ladies said hi to Tasuku and were late because of a teacher. They saw him clean up every speck of dust within the room in a flash. He was asked what he was doing, and he, a self-proclaimed top leader, had to keep the room clean. He didn't do it for anyone or anything, while Arusa leaned forth and thanked him. He leaned down to a box and found something suspicious on it, later opening it. Inside had a pile of letters of expulsion, making Ayazumi close the box without a peep of noise. She said it's best to not worry and to move on, but he asked about the letters. It was a history of apology letters and expulsion letters, a dark history they have. He knew they were going to receive them, but not on that level while Yazumi was cowering from his gaze. He bombarded them with questions like why they kept the club running when they're struggling. Each had a reason, but were having a hard time finding words to tell him why. Flashing back, they still remember words that lingers in their heart. Mitomo was happy about how amazing the detective crew was, but it was mostly thanks to him. With good intentions, he said he would be their assistant for life. They all wanted to be the one with him, as an assistant to them is a pillar of an amazing source to guide them. After Mitomo left them, their emotions piled up. This emotion of love was the result, and he would be a fool to not notice it. Yazumi dreamed of Mitomo hugging her, while Hiyori thought he would keep her in check, and lastly, Aruse imagined clinging onto her future assistant. That's why she will become a worthy detective capable of being chosen. They pouted for that as their reason for keeping the club going, but he was oblivious of these facts. He noticed the tense atmosphere and his throat strained at the thought of him being dethroned as a top detective. If the club was to be abandoned, then he would have no way to prove he was at the top, so they had to be fully recognized as a club. Hiyori wanted to get attention for more requests to get their detective business launched. Last time they promoted, they were failures, and Aruse had a great idea. She would contact the department of the Aruse group, then make lists of students with issues, then scarily said she will threaten them to send requests. She asked if it was a bad idea because she thought it was great, but somebody with a more worrisome arrival was going to come. Akechi decided to hijack the broadcasting room, making him do a facepalm. The broadcasting club members were shocked they even came. They announced that they want to be promoted over the school announcements. However, they've destroyed the equipment before making our boy disappointed. Hiyori was pleading while Yazumi was tasked to stop her. She had a bad stroke of luck because she tripped over a wire, making a shelf topple all over them. In a panic, Mitomo asked if they were okay, but he didn't think them being tied together was a good situation. He couldn't understand how that could occur in a few seconds, and that's just how her luck works when she trips. The club members frantically mentioned the cord was expensive and to not ruin it. Akechi said if that comes to be true, she will huff and zip it back together, and I have no idea what that means. The members asked if they were here to ruin their club, but while Mitomo tried to soothe things out, Arisu was fooling around. A club member didn't like what she was doing, so she pushed Mitomo out the way, but that made him fall onto her. The usual protagonist situation happened where he accidentally touched her melons. He had a firm grip on those melons, but somehow wasn't embarrassed of the situation. Unfortunately, the madam had the announcement system open, and everybody heard her moan. He was beyond embarrassed at what she did and asked why she would do that. She shifted all the blame to him while a teacher entered yelling at them. They were to flee, but the teacher knew it was their club, so punishment was inevitable. This time they had to give 3 apology letters looking downhearted. They wrapped up the day, but he decided to finish cleaning before leaving. The future was looking grim, however. With the corner of his eye, he saw a box. The next day after school, the 3 beauties were confused on what to do for promotion. But Hayori caught something in her eye. Tasuku, at the front of the gate, was handing out flyers. He met up with the women and he gave them a flyer. They were baffled he made them, and after cleaning yesterday, he found ones they made and decided to rearrange them. When he combined the 3 of their drafts, it all turned out well. This caused the beauties to look at him with such admiring looks. He was complimented by 2 of them, but he realized he was doing jobs of an assistant instead of a detective. The girls were cheerfully laughing while he was confused on why he was doing this. The beauties were aware he was the keystone that brought them together. That's why they want him to be their assistant while grabbing onto him. He didn't know what was going on, and the beauties claimed nothing was.